Hello, my dear fellow developers. Welcome back to my channel. So let's continue our journey where we will learn about different topics related to OmniStudio Developer, and we will also learn what are the commonly asked questions and how to answer them whenever it is asked to us. So far, we have discussed many topics like what is Vlocity or Salesforce Industries, what is OmniStudio, about its architecture, and about its different layer. We also discussed about the two components which lies in experience layer, namely FlexCard and OmniScript. So let's move forward and let's see what is the next commonly asked question that is asked whenever you are going to apply for OmniStudio developer roles. So the next question is, what are the best practices for FlexCard? This is one of the most important question where the interviewer trying to assess your knowledge about FlexCard and how you can optimize the FlexCard for its performance and other capabilities. So the first point which we can say is like use appropriate Flexbox properties. What I mean to say is like whenever we drag any element from build to canvas, there are by default some properties given by the tool that we have to use like flex design, justify content, align items and align self. So we can use these out of box properties for our layout designing instead of writing our own custom css. Then the second point says that limit the number of flex card. This is very much important point because we should avoid adding too many elements in our card container or flex container. The reason being that it will cause many performance issue and it will be very difficult for us also to manage the layout. The one more point which we can say that it will look very clustered when too many elements are there in a container. So we should always limit the number of items when we are using it in a flex container. The third point is like we have to use the responsive design. Whenever we will drag any component or any element to the canvas, there is an option in style section which is the responsive design. So we should always use responsive design by enabling it so that on different screens how to look we can design. And since it supports what you see what you get feature, so you can see in real time like in which device your card will look like. Then we should use appropriate topography and color, which is also given by platform itself. So we should use that. The other point is like use appropriate images. So we should always use high quality images that is optimized for web. The reason being you can use any images as far as a concern, but always use high quality image because whenever the screen size increases, the photo pixels getting distorted if it is of low quality. So always use high quality images. The other point is like test on multiple devices. So whenever you will preview your flex card, there you will have the option to select different devices. So always make sure to check like on which devices it is, how it is appealing, means how your flex card is looking on. Like there are many options like tablet, desktop, Excel, mobile screens. So always test on different designs and different UIs and screen sizes. The last point is like we should use consistent design. Like if we are using flex card, the design should be consistent. It should not be like that in one flex card we are using very vibrant color and in second flex card we are using very abstract color. So the design has to be consistent. So these are some of the bullet points or some of the best practices which you can mention about the flex card whenever the question has been asked. Hopefully this bullet point should be sufficient. So now let's move to the next question, which is similar to the flex card question only, that like which we are seeing right now. And the question is how to improve the performance of an OmniScript, or it can be also asked like this: tell me the best practices of an OmniScript. So in this, there are two possible ways by which we can improve the performance. First is the client side, and second is the server side. So whenever the client side is concerned, we should reduce the conditional view, merge fields, formulas, and wherever possible. We should always speed up the application response by trimming the response JSON. We should remove spaces from element names to improve the OmniScript load time. We should reduce the number of elements in a script. A single script should not exceed 200 elements. This is one more interview question that can be asked that tell me what is the number of elements that we can add in OmniScript. So the answer is 200. The fifth point says that we should run logic on server wherever possible, like conditional logic in indication procedure and formulas in data raptor. We should always track the performance with the help of time tracking in a OmniScript. And just in a heads up, if this time tracking functionality is not used in production, we should disable this feature before deploying to production. Then in server side, also we have the similar kind of things, like we should always cut down the payload size of the request by trimming the JSON request. We should reduce server root trip by using integration procedure whenever possible. Then we should always remove unnecessary data by trimming the data to extract output. So these are the few of the pointers which we can mention whenever this question is asked, like how to improve the performance of an OmniScript, or what are the best practices of OmniScript. So far we have discussed about FlexCard and OmniScript and its best practices. But haven't you wondered that we already have one such component as Flow, with the help of which we can do the similar kind of stuff which OmniScript does? So when to use OmniScript and when to use Flow? This is one of the curious question which every developer should have. And this is the next question which will be asked by the interviewer, that tell me the scenarios in which we should use Flow or we should use OmniScript, or what is the main difference. So let's jump to this question and let's see what are the things. So here are few of the distinct features by which we can decide, or we can say this is the difference between Salesforce Flow and OmniScript. So basically Salesforce Flow is designed for internal audience and OmniScript is designed for external audience. What do we mean by internal audience? Internal audience can be treated as like the persons or the group of individuals who are familiar with the flow, or basically say who are familiar with the functionality, who doesn't want then extra information like different big descriptions for their functionality explanation like that. But for OmniScript, it is for external user who are not familiar with the system, so that we have the guidance system over there. We can see the step by step instruction for the individual to perform an action. So this is the first difference, that Salesforce Flow is used for internal user and OmniScript is used for external user. Then let's come to the UI. So Salesforce Flow has very simple UI, or basically you can say lightning UI, in which we have simple inputs and it does the processing. But OmniScript has very complex user interface. That means you can do much more thing as compared to Flow. You can have your own styling over there. You can brand it according to your needs. Then Salesforce Flow is used for generic processes. Means whenever you want to automate some actions like create account, edit account, all this stuff like that. OmniScript is basically used for industry specific processes. What do we mean by industry specific? Like there are some specific processes, or you can say specific OmniScript, which is already provided by Salesforce for specific industries. Like we have shopping cart experience for communication cloud. So you do not have to build it from scratch. You can simply embed it in OmniScript and use it as needed. So they are basically used for doing the industry specific operations. Then we used screen flows if the branding is not required, or we can say the pixel perfectness is not required. Then OmniScript is been used wherever we have strict pixel perfect theme, like we need to customize everything, which is not possible in normal Salesforce flow. Then the other thing is like transaction value. The transaction value of screen flow is very high, very low, and then OmniScript is very high. This is some of the differences which you might say to your interviewer. Then let's move to the other differences. So these are the differences you will notice when you will deep dive into development. So the first difference is that in screen flow there is no field masking, but in OmniStudio it has field masking. And as we discussed in previous slide also, the pixel perfectness, it is saying the same. And the main thing you will notice when you will develop flow and OmniScript is it has process indicator, OmniStudio, so that your user can see in which step he is. But ScreenFlow doesn't have process indicator. It will simply go with normal steps and like that. And in Salesforce Flow, we have to write Apex classes to do the data transformation. Like if you want to truncate a data or transform the data, so in that case, you need data transformation. But in case of OmniStudio, it can be easily done by IP and Interrupter, which are the declarative tool. And Salesforce also suggests that always go for declarative tool whenever needed. So yeah, this is pretty much for this today's session where we discussed about the best practices of FlexCard and OmniStudio, and then we also discussed about what are the few of the key differences between Salesforce Flow and OmniScript. So yeah, that's pretty much for today. And let me know if you have further queries or need some further clarification in comment section. I will be happy to answer, and let's collaborate over there. Thank you very much. Bye bye.